we're going to talk about three Yamahas, all 2016 models. We've got the WR250, the YZ250FX, and the YZ250F. Jumping back and forth between the bikes, I get a good understanding of what the differences are, what the advantages are from one model to the other, and all the 2016 models with low Ks, so they make a great comparison. First of all, the WR is Yamaha's registerable Enduro 250. Out of all the three, it has the softest suspension. It's the heaviest and makes the least amount of power, and while that sounds a bit boring, it's actually the most rounded bike out of all the lot. Obviously you can register it. This particular WR has a motocross pipe and GYTR mapping. That's just a 2-minute job. If you've got the power tuner, you can adjust the mapping. Interestingly though, it still feels a little bit softer off the bottom end and a little bit less snappy than the YZ250FX, even though they should now feel exactly the same. Next is the YZ250FX, which is marketed as the cross-country racer by Yamaha. The idea here is it takes the best bits of the enduro bike and the motocrosser, putting them together. Okay, so the FX and the WR have electric start, while obviously the MX bike is kickstart only. In Australia, the YZ250FX comes with a motocross exhaust, but in America, it comes out of the factory more restricted. The YZ250FX runs the same clutch as the motocross bike, with a 6-speed gearbox from the WR. Its suspension is much more enduro than motocross, but it does a good job taking the big hits. Its real specialty though is how it tracks over rocks and trail trash. It does an awesome job of this, and it's probably the best suspended off-road bike I've ever owned. Compared to the WR, the power hits a touch harder, but it's quite similar to the WR overall in the way it feels. The next bike is the YZ250F, which is a 2016 model again. This one's a bit interesting because it's an ex-race bike. This has been modified for off-road by the way of an added side stand hand guards. This bike's actually an ex-race bike though, so it's got a modified head, custom mapping and a pro circuit exhaust. The YZF feels quite different to both the WR and FX in the way it makes power. It's much more aggressive, probably too much in the bush, and probably makes about 4 horsepower or so more on the top end compared to the FX and the WR. Riding in sand or on the open terrain, it's really fun. The suspension on the YZF struggles a bit on rocks and sharp edges where it can beat you up. I've done plenty of all-day rides on it and it's a lot of effort. Obviously the softer the terrain, easier, the more fun it is. To sum these bikes up, as you'd expect, the WR is the best bike for a less experienced rider. Stock without any mapping or exhaust changes, its power is pretty mellow and easy to control. The fact it can be fully registered makes it the only option for many people who ride in state forests. While the suspension on the WR is really plush, it's awesome bottoming resistance, and whenever I go fast in it, I'm amazed at how well it handles speed. Really is the best of both worlds. The YZF is a lot of fun, but it's just not ideal for the bush. If you're a young, aggressive racer, you'd probably love it, and for an older guy, it's fine, but only as a second bike. The kickstart can get really tiring, especially when you and the bike are hot. I've been the side of the hill a couple of times, and having to give it many kicks to get it going, and it can get annoying. If I could only have one bike here, I'd have the YZ250FX. It's more exciting than WR, and at stretch it can handle a couple of laps of motocross track at speed with no problem at all. The suspension on the FX is extremely versatile and it's never too firm or compliant enough. All three bikes are brilliant though, and using the same platform, you'd probably expect them to be. The WR and the FX are very adaptable when you start playing with the setup, so you really have a lot of options if you buy one of those.